the Egyptian desert, beneath the scorching sun, an anomaly stands tall. It's not a new discovery. It's an impossibility that has been there for 4,500 years, challenging everything we believe we know about our past. We're talking about 2.3 million stone blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, all cut with fraction of a millimeter precision and perfectly aligned with the stars. And the official story? It wants you to believe this was all done with stone hammers and fiber ropes. This is the story of archaeology's greatest unintentional conspiracy, a story of technology that vanished without a trace. Or so we think. Imagine you're a pharaoh. You want a monument that will last forever, so you order the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It stands 146 meters high. That's a 48-story building, and weighs 6 million tons, more than every building in a medium-sized city combined. And you have only 20 years to build it, according to the official timeline. Let's do the math. 2.3 million blocks in 20 years, working 10 hours a day, every single day. That means placing one 2.5-ton block every 2.5 minutes, for 2 decades straight. No breaks, no mistakes. And that's not even counting the time to cut and transport the stones, some from quarries 800 kilometers away. Does that sound plausible to you? It's time we started asking questions. But let's put the numbers aside and talk about something even more mind-boggling: the precision. The base of the Great Pyramid is an almost perfect square. Each side is about 230 meters long, and the difference between the longest and shortest side is just 4.4 centimeters. That's a 0.02% margin of error on a structure built 4,500 years ago. Modern engineers with lasers and GPS would find that incredibly difficult to replicate. But it gets even crazier. The outer casing stones were fitted so perfectly you can't even slide a razor blade between them. No mortar, no glue, just pure precision. How do you cut granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, with soft copper tools? The official answer is, with a lot of patience. But a logical mind might seek a different explanation. The impossibilities continue inside the pyramid. In the king's chamber, you'll find granite beams weighing 70 tons, lifted 60 meters high and set perfectly into the ceiling. There are no drag marks, no signs of struggle, and no conventional explanation for how they got there. Then there are the so-called air shafts. Archaeologists say they were for ventilation, but they don't lead anywhere useful. Instead, they point with astonishing accuracy to specific constellations like Orion and Sirius. Why? The religious explanation feels incomplete, the symbolic one too vague. What if their purpose wasn't spiritual but functional? What if it was technological? This brings us to the core of the problem. The story we've been told simply doesn't add up. Mainstream archaeology often dismisses these inconsistencies, or offers explanations that defy basic physics and logic. They tell us that any talk of advanced technology is just fantasy. But is it really? Or is it more fantastical to believe that a Bronze Age civilization, with the most rudimentary tools, achieved engineering feats that would challenge us even today? It's not about disrespecting our ancestors. It's about giving them the credit they truly deserve. The evidence is carved in stone, telling a story of a capability far beyond what we've been led to believe. The official narrative is a comfortable story, but the stones of Giza tell a different, much more compelling one. Let's examine the tools. We're told they used copper chisels and dolerite pounders. Try cutting a block of granite with a copper chisel. The chisel will deform long before you make a significant mark on the stone. There's even evidence that proves this couldn't be the case. Petrie, the father of modern Egyptology, discovered drill holes in granite artifacts. These holes show spiral grooves, indicating a feed rate, the speed at which the drill advanced. That is hundreds of times faster than what a modern diamond-tipped drill can achieve. How is that possible with ancient hand tools? The answer is, it's not. This isn't speculation. It's physical evidence that points directly to a level of mechanization and power that is completely unaccounted for. So where did this technology come from? And where did it go? This is where we venture into the territory of the hidden truth. There are theories that ancient civilizations inherited knowledge from an even older lost civilization, a global culture that was wiped out by a cataclysm. Sound familiar? Nearly every ancient culture has a flood myth. Plato wrote of Atlantis, a technologically advanced island nation that vanished into the sea. What if these aren't just myths, but fragmented memories of a real historical event? The precision engineering, the astronomical alignments found not just in Egypt, but in ancient sites all over the world. What if they are the last remaining fingerprints of this lost parent culture? Let's consider the pyramids not as tombs, but as machines. Some researchers, like Christopher Dunn, have proposed that the Great Pyramid was a massive power plant. They argue its specific materials, granite, limestone, and its precise internal structure were designed to harness the natural vibrations of the earth and convert them into energy. Those mysterious shafts weren't for a king's soul to ascend to the stars, but were waveguides. The king's chamber wasn't a burial room, but a resonance chamber. This theory, while radical, explains the precision, the material choices, and the internal anomalies in a way that the tomb theory simply cannot. It transforms the pyramid from a pile of rocks into a masterpiece of physics and engineering. What does all this mean for us today? It means our history could be far richer and more complex than we ever imagined. It means we might be a species with amnesia, having forgotten a golden age of incredible technological achievement. Realizing this isn't about looking to the stars for answers, but about looking at the evidence right here on Earth with open eyes. The pyramids are not just monuments to the dead, they are a message to the future, a message that we are capable of so much more. They challenge us to question the narratives we're given, to think critically, and to rediscover the lost potential of our own humanity. The Great Pyramid stands as a silent testament, a 4,500-year-old question mark. It urges us to reconsider what is possible. The clues are all there, waiting for us to piece them together. The story of our past is not finished. Perhaps the most exciting chapters are yet to be written. The next time you see a picture of the pyramids, don't just see a tomb. See a puzzle, a legacy, and a challenge. A challenge to unlock the secrets of our own forgotten history. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this has sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the mysteries of our past. We have so much more to explore together. Have you ever stood in front of a picture of the Great Pyramid of Giza and just wondered? The official story, the one we all learned in school, is pretty straightforward. Thousands of slaves toiling under the hot sun, dragging massive stone blocks up colossal ramps. It's a tale of immense human effort, a testament to the power of a pharaoh. It's a great story. But what if it's just that? A story. Let's start with the basics. The workers. The latest archaeological finds suggest they weren't slaves at all, but paid, skilled laborers who were well-fed and respected. They even had their own tombs near the pyramids. So, scratch the image of whips and chains. But that's a minor detail compared to the real puzzle, the ramp. To build a structure 146 meters high, like the Great Pyramid, you'd need a ramp with a gentle, manageable slope. Let's say a 10-degree incline. Simple math tells us this ramp would need to be over a kilometer long, almost a mile. Think about the amount of material required to build such a ramp. It would be a project almost as massive as the pyramid itself. In fact, some calculations suggest the ramp would contain more material than the pyramid. And after the last stone was placed, this gigantic structure would have to be completely dismantled. Where did it go? Archaeologists have searched for decades. They've found pottery, tools, workers' villages, but no trace of a giant ramp. Not a single definitive piece of evidence. It's a theory that works perfectly on paper, but crumbles in the real world. Then there's the problem of the tools. The Egyptians of that era, the 4th dynasty, were in the late Copper Age, transitioning to the Bronze Age. Iron was still far in the future. Their primary metal was copper. Now on the Mohs scale of hardness, copper sits at about a 3.5. The granite used for the inner chambers and sarcophagi, that S is 7. Trying to cut granite with a copper saw is like trying to slice a diamond with a stick of butter. It just doesn't work. Yet, when we examine the granite boxes inside the pyramids, we see things that defy this reality. We see perfectly flat, polished surfaces. We see inside corners that are impossibly sharp. Most baffling of all, we find drill holes, cored out of solid granite, with spiral grooves, known as helical marks. These marks are the telltale sign of a powerful, high-speed drill bit biting into the stone. How could they achieve this with hand-cranked copper tools? Modern experiments trying to replicate these feats using the known tools of the era have failed spectacularly. The best they can do is laboriously scratch the surface. The official explanation? The Egyptians just had a lot of time and patience. But does time and patience explain precision engineering that we would struggle to replicate today? Something doesn't add up. And here's another strange silence in the historical record. The ancient Egyptians were meticulous record keepers. Their temple walls and papyrus scrolls are covered in hieroglyphs detailing every aspect of their lives: farming cycles, religious rituals, military victories, even the construction of smaller tombs and temples. They documented everything. But when it comes to the Great Pyramid, their single greatest architectural and engineering achievement, there is a deafening silence. Not one single hieroglyph inside the Great Pyramid itself describes how it was built. Not one plan, not one diary entry from the architect. It's as if the biggest project in their history wasn't worth mentioning. It's an anomaly so profound that it leads to a wild thought. What if they didn't write about it because they were not the ones who built it? Now, let's venture into ideas that sound like they're straight out of science fiction. But stay with me. What if they didn't have to lift the stones? What if they could make them float? This is called acoustic levitation, and it's a real phenomenon. In modern labs, scientists use powerful focused sound waves to suspend small objects in mid-air. The question is, could this principle be scaled up? Ancient legends from around the world are filled with stories of moving massive stones with sound. Tibetan monks were said to use giant trumpets and drums to levitate blocks for their monasteries. Incan and Mayan myths contain similar accounts. Is it just a coincidence that all these ancient, master-building cultures shared a similar myth? When you go inside the chambers of the Great Pyramid, you discover they have bizarre acoustic properties. The King's Chamber, for instance, resonates powerfully at a specific low frequency. This effect is so precise that it seems intentional. What if these chambers weren't tombs for dead pharaohs? What if they were giant acoustic machines? Resonance chambers designed to generate and amplify specific frequencies, creating vibrational fields powerful enough to reduce the weight of stone blocks, making them easy to move and position with incredible accuracy. A lost technology of sound. If that seems too far-fetched, let's look at something undeniably real: the mathematics encoded in the pyramid's design. This is where it gets truly mind-boggling. The Great Pyramid isn't just a big pile of rocks, it's a mathematical marvel. If you take its original height and multiply it by 43,200, you get the polar radius of the Earth. If you take its base perimeter and divide it by twice its height, you get the number pi, accurate to several decimal places. The golden ratio, a fundamental mathematical constant, is found throughout its proportions. And then there's its alignment. The Great Pyramid is aligned to true north with an accuracy of 3/60ths of a degree. That's more precise than any other ancient structure on the planet, and more precise than many modern ones. How did they achieve this? They didn't have GPS or even magnetic compasses. And aligning to the North Star is tricky because the Earth wobbles on its axis over thousands of years in a process called precession, meaning the position of north in the sky changes. To achieve this level of accuracy requires sophisticated astronomical knowledge and an understanding of geodesy, the science of measuring the Earth's shape and orientation in space. This is knowledge they supposedly shouldn't have possessed for another 2,000 years. So where did it come from? Was it sheer luck? A series of impossible coincidences? Or does the Great Pyramid stand as evidence of a lost chapter in human history? A time when a different kind of knowledge, a different kind of technology existed. Whether it was advanced sound technology, a profound understanding of mathematics and astronomy passed down from a forgotten civilization, or something else entirely, one thing is clear: the simple story of ramps and ropes just doesn't hold up to the evidence carved in stone. The pyramids don't just ask us how they were built, they challenge everything we think we know about our own past. The secret is still locked inside, waiting. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the mysteries of the Great Pyramid. If these ideas sparked your curiosity, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the puzzles of our ancient world. What do you think is the real story behind the pyramids? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time. Have you ever looked at the Great Pyramids of Giza and felt like something just doesn't add up? We're told they were tombs for pharaohs, built by thousands of workers with copper tools and ropes. It's a neat story, but what if it's completely wrong? Today we're diving into a theory that some academics only dare to whisper, a theory that could rewrite everything we think we know about human history. What if the Egyptians of the 4th dynasty didn't build the pyramids? What if, when they arrived, these magnificent structures were already there, ancient and mysterious, silent monuments to a forgotten past? Let's start with the Sphinx. Right next to the pyramids, it stands as a silent guardian. But its body tells a strange story. Look closely at the enclosure walls around it. You'll see deep, vertical fissures. Geologists, like Dr. Robert Schoch, have studied this weathering extensively. Their conclusion? This isn't wind and sand erosion. This is classic precipitation-induced weathering, rain erosion. But hang on, the Giza Plateau has been a hyper-arid desert for thousands of years. For this kind of water damage to occur, the Sphinx would have to have stood through a period of intense, prolonged rainfall. A period that ended long before the supposed age of the Sphinx. How long before? We're talking thousands of years. Some estimates push its origins back to 10,000 BC or even earlier. Of course, Egyptologists disagree fiercely. They stick to the timeline of Pharaoh Khafra, around 2500 BC. But the stone doesn't lie. The geological evidence points to a much older story, a story that the mainstream narrative simply cannot accommodate. And this isn't an isolated case. All around the world, we find clues of a forgotten chapter in our history. Off the coast of Japan, there's the Yonaguni Monument, a massive underwater rock formation with stunningly symmetrical terraces, steps, and what look like carved pillars. Submerged just off the coast of India, in the Gulf of Cambay, divers discovered the ruins of a vast city, 9 kilometers long, complete with geometric structures, pottery, and other artifacts. Carbon dating of these artifacts suggests they're over 9,500 years old. These discoveries, and others like them, point to the existence of advanced coastal civilizations that existed before the end of the last ice age, before a catastrophic global event caused sea levels to rise dramatically. This brings us to the great flood myths found in hundreds of cultures worldwide. From the story of Noah to the Epic of Gilgamesh, to legends from indigenous peoples in the Americas and Australia. Is it possible these aren't just myths? What if they are the fragmented cultural memories of a very real cataclysm? A cataclysm that wiped an entire global civilization off the map. A pre-diluvian, highly advanced civilization. When we think of advanced, our minds jump to steel, electricity, and microchips. But what if this lost civilization's technology was entirely different? What if it was a technology that leaves no trace for our archaeologists to find? No rusted machinery, no circuit boards, no fossil fuel residue. What if their technology was based on principles we are only just beginning to rediscover? Think about sonic energy, the power of vibration and resonance. We see hints of this in legends of priests who could move stones with the sound of trumpets or chants. Could the massive multi-ton blocks of the pyramids have been quarried and lifted not with brute force, but with finely tuned frequencies that neutralized their weight? Or what about crystalline technology? We use quartz crystals in our watches and computers today because of their ability to hold and transmit energy and information with incredible precision. The ancient pyramids were encased in brilliant white Tura limestone, and their inner chambers were often lined with granite, which is rich in quartz. Were these just decorative choices? Or were these massive structures giant crystalline machines, designed to harness and amplify energies from the Earth and the cosmos? This would be a technology so subtle, so integrated with nature, that after millennia we would only see the inert stone, completely missing its original purpose. And when that civilization disappeared, whether through a cataclysmic flood, a devastating war, or some form of societal collapse, only their most durable creations remained. These indestructible stone structures, Millennia later, the early Egyptians emerged from the desert sands and discovered these incredible, impossibly perfect monuments. They wouldn't have understood what they were. They didn't build the pyramids, they inherited them. They moved in, they occupied them. They recognized their power and venerated them as sacred places, gateways to the gods. Over thousands of years, the true knowledge of what these structures were was lost. It was replaced by myths, symbols, and rituals. The original technical manual was forgotten, and a new religious text was written in its place. This single hypothesis explains so many of the mysteries that baffle researchers today. It explains the impossible precision of the stonework, cut to tolerances our best modern machinery would struggle to match. It explains why we have found zero, literally zero, hieroglyphs or records from the 4th dynasty describing how, why, or when the Great Pyramid was built. Think about that. You build the single greatest wonder of the ancient world, and you don't write down a single word about it. It doesn't make sense. It also explains the phantom technology. Where are the tools? Where are the mountains of broken copper chisels and worn-out ropes? They don't exist, because they were never used. And most tellingly, it explains why every single subsequent attempt by later Egyptian dynasties to build pyramids resulted in dramatically inferior copies. They were trying to replicate something they didn't understand. They saw the shape, the form, but they didn't possess the original science. That's why the later pyramids are, frankly, piles of rubble compared to the masterpieces of Giza. They were copying the divine without the divine knowledge. And what are we doing today? We're not even trying to copy them. We're just clinging to the comfortable narrative, repeating a story that has more holes than a block of Swiss cheese. So what is the truth? The honest answer is, we don't know. Not for certain, but we know this. The official story doesn't hold up. Not mathematically, not geologically, not logically. To suggest that a Bronze Age culture, which had just figured out farming, suddenly developed the ability to construct a monument as precise as the Great Pyramid, aligned to true north with an accuracy we didn't match until the age of GPS, is a staggering leap of faith. The pyramids are not just tombs, they are riddles carved in stone. Each perfectly cut block, weighing as much as 70 tons, is a question aimed directly at our modern arrogance. Each precise stellar alignment, pointing to constellations as they appeared thousands of years ago, is a deliberate provocation. Each resonant chamber, which hums at specific low frequencies, is a whisper of something far greater, something we lost, or perhaps something that was taken from us. The next time you see a picture of the pyramids, or maybe one day you'll be lucky enough to stand before them, I want you to try something. Don't see them as tombs for dead kings. See them for what they might really be. Evidence, hard physical evidence that our history is incomplete, that our story is far deeper and more extraordinary than we've been told. And maybe, just maybe, we are not the most advanced civilization to have ever walked this planet. Maybe we're just the ones with amnesia. The lost technology isn't waiting for us in the stars. It's right here, buried beneath our feet, encoded in the silent stones of our oldest monuments. It's just waiting for us to stop reciting the old stories and start asking the right questions. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey down the rabbit hole. If this sparked your curiosity, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of our past. What do you think? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.